All right, one more video and then I'm done, I swear. I want to talk about actions doing your speaking, right? So there's a saying that says actions speak louder than words. And I don't think that's really the best way to think about it. What I think is a better way of putting it is actions speak better than words, right? And this is why you hear people say, well, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I think an action is also worth 1,000 words. I think words are probably the least valuable, least effective communication method, period. Body language is far more effective of a communicator. Anything that's non-verbal is good. And actions certainly communicate, because you can forego all of the words, right? One of the things that you always hear people say, well, I just don't have the words. I don't have the words. Or you hear people say, I can't think of the word. What is the word I'm looking for? How can I explain this? Blah, 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 right? Well, actions, you never really have any of those inhibitions or those difficulties when it comes to actions, right? And here's where all of this is coming from. My dad was a pilot. I was an airport brat. So growing up, we were in the 80s. That was back during Reagan, and airplanes were big, and a bunch of businessmen were buying airplanes because of the tax incentives, right? So that was a integral part of my childhood, and it is to this day. I love aviation. I don't fly. I can fly. My dad taught me how to fly as a child, which was awesome. And I had no idea just how big of a privilege that was, to be an 11-year-old sitting as a co-pilot flying an airplane. I just thought, there's probably other kids out there too doing this. But to this day, I have I wouldn't say a morbid fascination with flight disasters and airplane crashes. I wouldn't call it morbid, but it speaks to me just because of, I have that connection to my childhood, but also because, especially in commercial aviation and the airline industry, accidents don't just happen all willy-nilly. It's usually quite the series of unfortunate events that all just come together to send an airplane down. And as you look through time, the further back in time you go, the less that's required to crash an airplane. So in this year, 2021, it is a lot more difficult to crash an airplane than it was in the 1970s or the 1980s, right? Back then, a pilot could sneeze and let go of the control stick, and you let go of the controls, your airplane's going down, right? That's not really how it is in 2021, right? I mean, the airplane will land itself. So when an airplane does crash, it usually means something really big went wrong, a very, very complex issue. So that's why I like it, because it's always a reminder that problems are not simple. When there's a disaster, whenever something unfortunate happens, it's never something simple. And aviation accidents are a unfortunate reminder of this. And so there's a few aviation channels that I like to watch. One in particular is called the Flight Channel. And I just got done watching a video on Air Florida Flight 90. It went down in 1982. And it went down because the captain and the first officer, they were both fairly experienced on average. They weren't the most seasoned pilots, but they had thousands of hours between the two of them. However, neither one of them really had very much experience in snow and icy conditions. So they were both sort of new at the same time. And the captain was a dick. And it just, well, I mean, I think of the typical pompous ass, or the typical pompous narcissist, whatever you want to call it. I'm the captain kind of guy, right? It's just how he comes across in the video. I'm not even sure if he talks like that. He talks in Florida. He's from Florida, so maybe he talks more like this, But I digress. And this first officer, though, even though he's lower in rank, was a fighter pilot, retired fighter pilot, and a training instructor in the Air Force, right? So, dude, he's a fucking fighter pilot, right? And so during the takeoff, so they did several things wrong and against procedure, which led to more ice. But in the cockpit, there's an unspoken, unofficial rule that the captain is in charge, right? And so whatever the captain says goes. And that's not in any official rule book, but especially since most airlines are done by retired military pilots, a lot of them, generally they have this respect for chain of command. And in this case, the first officer, who was the fighter pilot, was actually the pilot executing the takeoff, and the captain was the one observing and monitoring, okay? And so during the takeoff, the plane was accelerating too slow. It took them far too long to get up to speed. The engine readouts, the power output of the engines wasn't matching with what the first officer was observing. And remember, he's a fighter pilot, right? So they had all their settings, and the airplane's going too slow. The power that they're feeling isn't matching what the gauges are showing. And not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times, the first officer spoke up to the captain and says, "Captain, something is not right. Captain, something is not right. Captain, something is not right. These gauges are not matching what I'm observing. Captain, something is not right." And all 4 times, the captain just dismissed him or didn't say anything, didn't say cancel the takeoff, anything. So his first officer, being from the military and respecting the chain of command and all of that, they go to take off, and within seconds after taking off, they fall out of the sky and they hit a bridge, and just about everybody dies. So it's very, very unfortunate. And this led to a number of reforms in the industry. But this is the point, because we've all been in this situation where we're trying to sound the alarm, we're trying to raise the red flag, we're saying, hey, something's not right, something's not right, right? And you're expecting whoever is in charge to do something or say something, all right? And if something is not right, just take action, okay? Because if he had just shut it down, it's better to hear, wait, what do you think you're doing? The right thing. See what I mean? Actions speak louder than words, better than words, right? And that's the whole point. Actions speak better than words. If he had taken action based on what he was seeing and just done it, yeah, he might have had an annoyed captain to deal with, but he knew something was not right. He knew something wasn't right. And it was his deference to the chain of command, or chain of report, whatever you want to call it, and expecting the captain who has rank to make the appropriate decision. And the captain did not make the appropriate decision. And one of the last words you hear is, "We're going down, Larry," which is like, fuck you, Larry, I was right. So I shouldn't laugh, but it's exactly that. Actions would have spoken better, and actions do speak better. And it's always better to take action first. There's a saying that I've long held, and that is this: it's always easier to get forgiveness than permission. Or a slight variant, sometimes it's better to get forgiveness than permission. Okay? You have to make a decision. Is this something that, should I go for forgiveness or should I go for permission? Okay? And that's a choice that we can all freely make pretty much at any given time, so long as we're willing to accept the consequences. I mean, if something's not right on takeoff, what's the consequences of canceling the takeoff yourself? Minimal. What happens if we don't? what happens if the captain doesn't? See what I mean? And clearly there was some anxiety on the first officer's part, because he knew something was wrong, felt the need to tell the captain about it 4 times. It took them over a mile to take off, which is insane. So anyways, actions speak better than words. As a matter of fact, everything speaks better than words. Words speak the most poorly. I'm trying to think of how I can word that. And the funny thing is, that's not me. That's not me being sarcastic like that. That's actually me hunting to try to find the right words there. So I mean, case in point. Wow, talk about being exactly the subject of your video. And I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. So go to the flight channel, look up Air Florida Flight 90. I'll see if I can put a link in the description. I'll see if I can remember. I never fucking remember, never. So, but maybe I will. Maybe I won't. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. I don't know. Anyways, please like, comment, or share, and I'll see you on the next video.